Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest LFCTR podcast. In what somewhat of a somber and poignant mood, we are here tonight to discuss and, I suppose, most importantly, to celebrate the life and the times of Diogo Jota, the lad from Portugal, better than Figo, don't you know? In what will be a truly testing, honest, and true account of what Diogo meant to not only Liverpool Football Club, but to Wolverhampton Wanderers in Portugal as well. I'm Richie and I'll be joined tonight by Charlie and Dan. And the vision tonight is not to grieve, but to rejoice in the life of our forever number 20. Not just to grieve, but to celebrate and to revel in Diogo's accomplishments on and off the pitch. I'm sure that the news has absolutely rocked not just the Liverpool community or Porto or Atletico community, but the whole of football community as well. And what we wanted to do tonight is really to encapsulate and, to live in the moment of what Diogo accomplished, because he's a man who accomplished so much. And, I do want to send out a little bit of, the condolences as well for Andre Silva, obviously his brother who was 26 years old, to all of the family and to all of the parents as well who have been involved, and obviously to Diogo's children as well. The mood tonight is not necessarily to be bleak about it, but what we wanted to do is actually to be happy and to celebrate what Diogo gave, so many special moments and so many countless trophies that he gave to Liverpool Football Club. And that's what we want to do. We want to celebrate tonight. So I make no apologies personally in celebrating Diogo. I don't want to sound depressing and I don't want to sound down, however much I might feel inside. And I have really struggled, as I'm sure Dan and Charlie will speak about as well. I have really struggled over the past couple of days in understanding what has happened, and I suppose making sure that although we don't know this person, I don't think we have to know a person to know someone, and we all feel emotionally connected to somebody. And it's amazing that how we feel in these times and how emotionally connected we are. We might not know these players, but at the end of the day, it doesn't take away anything. We don't know this boy from Adam. I personally don't, but the moments he gave us and the times that he gave us and the memories that he gave us will live on forever. And I truly believe personally, a person never dies as long as their memory lives on. And Diogo will live on, especially in our three hearts. And I'm sure everyone who's listened to this will live in our hearts forever. So, this is an account on what Diogo meant to Liverpool Football Club, what he meant to the fans, and what he meant to all of us. And his memory will live on forever. And you never walk alone is not just a slogan, it's a way of life. And I truly believe that. It's not cliche. Diogo will live forever in our hearts. And we wish his family and his friends and everyone associated with him absolutely the very best. Charlie, moving on to you, and I suppose what Diogo meant for Liverpool Football Club. You're going to have to do your best, I suppose, to really surmise what he was, what he achieved, and what he accomplished. And we will talk about Wolves, and we will talk about Porto, and we will talk about Portugal as well, because his life didn't just stop and end at Liverpool Football Club. He is immortalised forever in our memories.
Absolutely. This is going to be a real tough occasion to talk about a player that's I don't want to say has left the club. He will be immortalized. I think the key thing that you just said there is that the number 20 will live on. The symbolism that we have now from the club that have demonstrated straight away, and they've done it in such a classy way. And I think that's the real key important thing. There's been a lot of I want to use my words carefully, but there's questionable actions that have been carried out in the media, in social media, etc., that have kind of highlighted the negativity around that circle and what Liverpool done, the players especially, the emotion that they've tried to put into words, because it's difficult. Arne Slot has gone up in my estimation. He was already really incredibly high anyway after the season we had. But those words that he said about Diogo, I'm gonna stop myself from trying to choke. But the first thing I wanted to talk about with Diogo was not even football related as such. It was his introduction video when he came to Liverpool. It was the moment that he actually signed for Liverpool, and he came into focus we had a bit of a media campaign there with Diogo coming in and saying hello to the fans, but Diogo came in to focus, and that was the kind of key thing. He came in to focus, and what we got in that video, in that really, really short clip, was someone who understood Scouse understanding, that understood Scouse humour. And what he said was, what's happening, but in a Scouse accent. He's a lad from Portugal who's been brought up possibly looking at Liverpool from afar, moved over to the UK, playing for Wolves and getting kind of engrossed in that Midlands dynamic there with games against Leicester that I'm sure you'll be talking about. But to actually really demonstrate how he understood the club straight away, the fan base, the city, was incredible. And that, to me, kind of he put himself in my heart. And one of the key things that, what you were saying earlier on about, we don't know him from Adam, but there's a true saying about brothers in arms. And this is how I feel with players that play for Liverpool. The majority, there are some that are really bad eggs and whatnot. We'll push them aside. But the guys that really do put in the effort to understand what Liverpool are all about, that will fight for the club, fight for the shirt, the crest, the fans, to win trophies. Diogo Jota epitomized that, and that came from that first moment. And he hadn't even kicked the ball for us, and that one thing kind of straight away made me just fall in love with the man, because he's just magnificent. He doesn't have an ego. He plays FIFA kind of semi-professionally, and it's always been a bit of a joke, but that's how he is. Again, just before he joined, there was that FIFA tournament where players from the actual professional club were representing the teams, and he was representing Wolves, and he played Trent, and he battered him, and that was just brilliant. That was a lovely little moment. But that again, it's not the football side, it's not the ego side of Diogo, and that's what I think for me made him the man that he is, and I love that. The next thing that I really wanted to talk about was, and he showcased how good of a player he was, and I think this is probably the first demonstration that a lot of fans saw of Diogo, was the hat-trick against Atalanta in the Champions League away to Atalanta. Really, really tough ground. And what we saw was 3 types of finishes that were incredible. The first goal that I can remember was a little bit of a dink over the keeper, and that just was reminiscent of Michael Owen. And I've seen Michael Owen score those goals. I'm of a vintage where I can remember Michael Owen playing really regularly and scoring those exactly type of goals, and that was just a fantastic. I don't know if you guys remember that, but when I saw that, I was like, he's actually a really good finisher. What
pure
is
finisher.
He was just, and that was really, really breathtaking moment, because I was like, I haven't seen that for years. And we got that moment, and that was just a fantastic one. And then there was another goal in the same half where it was like that typical five-a-side goal. When you got that first touch, you take it away from the defender and then smash it into the goal, into the near post. And that was another one, which was, again, kind of just showcasing his ability, really underrated. And there's been conversation or the social media banter of Wolves fans kind of saying to us, we got ripped off with the fee that we paid for Diogo, and it really kind of went back on itself. And what a fantastic buy he was. The next thing that I really wanted to kind of describe, so we've described him as understanding Scouse humour. The next one was the technique and the football ability. What next is in my mind is the connection between his footballing ability to us as fans, and how he bridged that connection. And there's loads of occasions that we can talk of, but I think the key one is always going to be the Merseyside derbies. And there was 2 moments that I can remember. The first one, it's from, I think it was the COVID times, but there was a moment when he scored, and we battered Everton that day, and Diogo was on fire. He was absolutely brilliant. There's a particular goal that comes to mind, and it again showcased how good of a player he was and how deft he was with both feet, his natural ability in front of goal. And this moment was when he received the ball. He did a bit of a through the legs flick between his legs and then past the defender. He had a really sharp angle, really tight angle against Pickford. And Pickford's he's a good goalkeeper, a good shot stopper, and you would think maybe this might be a difficult chance, an opportunity. But what he did was with a left foot, absolutely smashed it into the roof of the net from a acute angle, and that's just like wow. One is with the ability that he had to score that goal, and then to do that in the Merseyside derby away to Everton at Goodison, and that kind of gave us the bragging rights for the city, people that live in the city. Kind of again, Liverpool were in town, and Liverpool's red on that night. The next one around that was again talking about Everton and the Merseyside derby and how important of a goal it was, probably because now looking back, it probably is the game that really did confirm the league title just recently.
And in April.
Only really recently in April, dogged game against Everton at Anfield under the lights. And who was it that kind of broke the deadlock with a really great goal? It was fantastic play between him and Diaz. So Diaz got the ball,
little back heel.
Yep, there you go. You guys remember, everybody remembers this goal because, it's one of those moments of where were you when Diogo Jota scored against Everton and secured
not
the
just
title.
Scored against Everton, it's actually his last ever goal in professional football. And what a goal to score that, like you quite rightly said, not just to beat Everton, but actually it was the one that you thought, you know what, we've got past Everton, we've got the win now, that's it. It's secured number 20 from our number 20. And what a goal it was though as well.
Yeah, just, to take it past. And we've seen that a number of times. So he did this kind of shimmy, this famous shimmy that he had, if you remember, one against Arsenal, when he laid loads of players, dropped the shoulder, laid loads of players on their arse, and then buries it. Arsenal, he did it. He'd done it against Everton back in April. Again, magnificent. Again, it's that bridging of his ability in front of the goal, and then everyone that's behind the goal and celebrating because he celebrated with them. And again, he did that with just a penalty shootout, if you remember, against Leicester. Now, Leicester give us a very hard time.
It was a real tough game. I remember it was a real tough game, but it wasn't just the game itself. It was the fans that gave us such a real time. Stickler of a time as well, And listen, the fans are there to supposedly, they are supposed to get under your skin. I personally hold nothing against fans when they're trying to get under the players' skins. Yeah. And that's what they should do, especially Leicester. They're the underdogs. They're against Liverpool. That's what they should be doing. Diogo Jota, calm as you like he did in the FA Cup final. If you remember, on that fourth penalty when Sadio Mane missed, Jota basically had to score, because if Mason Mount scored, then Leicester would have gone to the advantage. Tsimikas eventually in the FA Cup final slotted the fifth one that made us win, because, Mason Mount missed. Jota stepped up. He was the fourth one. Top bins on the right corner. And that typifies, again, and emphasize, or whatever word or whatever, thing that you want to describe him as, that was him. He was cool, calm, collected. I hate that phrase because it's used so much. But if you could absolutely personify a man by something, they are the three words that would be said to him. And you're quite right. Sorry, anyway.
No. So that phrase, absolutely agreed. It's overused. But if we could bottle that up, if we could bottle up the energy and the calmness that Diogo Jota had in front of goal, and give that to other players, we would have half the player that Diogo was. They wouldn't come any closer. The last thing I wanted to talk about before you guys can jump in and kind of give your thoughts about Diogo, that cool, calm, collected, composed person who, on his day, unbeatable. The way that I would describe him, on his day, at peak Diogo Jota, he was an absolute, I don't even know what's the word, it's world class, but the type of plays, he's a bull, he's so strong, he's got so much fire, he will give you hell for 90 minutes at the top of his game. At the worst, he's a nuisance and he still creates issues. He still does what he needs to do and very creative and plays for the team. The last thing I wanted to talk about before I really start choking up was the goal against Tottenham. And it's one of my favorite moments of the last 40 years of watching football as a Liverpool fan. And it's the moment when Richarlison scores and equalizes for Tottenham in the dying moments of a game, and Alisson then gets the ball, punts it forward, we get a flick on, and who collects it at the edge of the box on the left hand side. Not the best of angles, but he's controlled it. Their player's done something wild and let the ball go, but Diogo gathers the ball, gets it controlled, moves into the box, and then with his left foot absolutely buries it past the Tottenham keeper in front of the cup in the very last seconds of the game.
Oh, the beauty with that is that Richarlison was still celebrating, doing his little chicken dance as well.
Yeah, and it's everything. Again, it's just those things. The rivalry that we have with Richarlison. You know, he's the pantomime villain that we have and have created, and he's probably really hurting as well, considering everyone in football's hurting. But yeah, those are the things that I really wanted to talk about. Hopefully that's given a bit of a story as to Diogo's kind of journey, and the journey doesn't end, because I want us to keep on talking about it. And come the season, everyone has 20 on their shirt, sings about Diogo every game. We make this a competition and a season to remember, and long may it continue. We immortalize Diogo with song, with cheers, with hugs, with kisses, with absolutely everything that we have from an emotional state that we can as Liverpool fans, brothers in arms. And that's what we need to do is gather around those players, because they're going to be hurting.
Yeah. And listen, I from a personal note, I know it's boring for everybody else, but from a personal note, like, I bought the green, obviously the third strip, and I wanted Florian Wirtz because I think that's a sick third strip. I wanted Florian Wirtz, whatever number he's got, so I'm like, I won't buy that yet because number's not confirmed. And I was really struggling actually to think of a player for the red kit, because I've had basically every single legend. I buy 2 kits every single year. And I was really struggling actually this year to think, who am I going to have on my red shirt then? Who am I going to have on the home shirt? And listen, if you know, for the people walking around with Diogo like 20 on their shirt next year, that is immortality, and that's how you remember him, and that's how you pay respect. I'm not just saying you just do that. You sing his song and you clap on the 20. The song's an absolute belter. My daughters have been singing it all day today. And you know, people aren't gone unless they're forgotten, and I don't think somebody like Diogo, especially Liverpool fans, will ever be forgotten. He is immortalized, you know, in the fields of Anfield Road forever, and it's an absolute honor really to be a Liverpool fan, because I think Liverpool Football Club have gone through so many tragic times, so many turmoils, and so many different experiences, and we've always came out okay. You know, we've always came through the light. And if there's anything that Liverpool do, it is to deal with these things well, and it's to lean on Kenny Dalglish, and it's to follow Steven Gerrard and Bill Shankly and Bill Paisley. And Liverpool are going to come out of this in a really poor state. You know, Liverpool are really going to struggle with this, but we'll do what we've always do, and that is march on and walk through the storm. And you know, for me, I'm so proud to support this football club because we always deal with it in the right way. And for me, you know, Diogo will always be immortalised, and he'll never, ever be forgotten. And I know that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, Dan, just moving sideways a little bit, because I remember when Diogo was signed, it was an absolute classic signing. It reminded me of a Fabinho signing where everyone was looking at Adama Traore. At that moment in time, everyone was looking at Adama Traore to come to Liverpool because he was the hot prospect. And actually, you look right, but Liverpool turned left. And we signed Diogo Jota for 41 million. It probably went to 45 million with add-ons. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we could sign him. I thought Adama was the one up for sale. And we literally moved, you know, like a silent assassin. And we got Diogo. And I was really excited about Adama. And I literally remember I was a teacher, and I was literally my assistant principal school, who's another office rather, and he's another Liverpool fan. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we actually got Diogo Jota. And I was like, Jota the Slotter already. It's already made up. Like, what were your thoughts about when we signed him? Because I was like, I one didn't see it coming, two very excited, three thought the sky's the limit for this kid, and it absolutely was.
I think I did have a thought about his Wolves days, and the first moment I kind of saw Diogo and how he did, and so where I used to live in South Birmingham, my neighbour is a Leicester fan, very very avid Leicester fan who would have lots and lots of banter and the key moment that I remember from Diogo's Wolves days is the hat trick that he scored past past Leicester in
Mm-hmm.
a thrilling 4-3 win. And again, the type of football that he demonstrated that day. He did that at such a young age, and I think people forget how young he was when he stepped over to the UK, making such a big move, not just for him, but for him and his family, with his partner, Riti. I really apologize if I've kind of pronounced that incorrectly, but they've been together for such a long time as kids, and they've followed and gone on that journey together, and that's just a lovely thing about Diogo. Again, some of the things that we hear from other footballers, we certainly see that in a younger generation, but it seems like he was an old head on young shoulders. From what I remember and seeing him, nothing really flashy, but it just kind of encapsulates. Sorry, what it kind of encaptures is the essence of the man and what he can do to endear himself to anyone and everyone that he plays for. There's been some marvelous things said about him from his Portugal teammates, and I'm sure that's something that you guys want to talk about. But one of the greatest players in the world recognizes Diogo Jota. Cristiano Ronaldo has come out and it's spoken high praise of Diogo and how he has contributed to winning honors, something that Portugal hadn't had decades, for years, and in the first time in their history win real big titles. And Diogo is definitely part of that. And I know it's something that you guys want to talk about in terms of his international credibilities as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for Portugal, and quite rightly, I will always say Messi is the greatest of all time, but I can understand why those who say Cristiano Ronaldo is, because he is an absolute beast, and Ronaldo is Portugal. Let's be honest, Ronaldo is absolutely Portugal Football Club or Portugal International, whatever you want to call it. But Diogo was a big part of that as well. Diogo 3 weeks ago won the Nations League for Portugal. He played 49 times for them and scored 14 goals. And I know from obviously what Cristiano said, he was a big part of that Portuguese squad. He was part of the leadership team. He was part of, someone who I think Cristiano could trust. And again, I don't want to make it a Cristiano podcast, but I don't know whether or not he trusted that many people. But I know within that Portuguese setup, it looked as if
Exactly.
Diogo was one of those.
Exactly.
He was. Diogo has done it all. Let's be honest. He's done it all. He's played at lots of levels that lots of those Portuguese players have not. João Neves was he paid a tremendous tribute to him today, or yesterday, and I think it shows how much of a man he was. Not just obviously for Liverpool and for Wolves and for Porto, but and Atletico and everyone else, but for Portugal, he was a big influence. And the measure of a man is what people say about you, and the measure of a man is what people remember about you. And for me, if I'm receiving those accolades, I'm immortalized forever because I'm never going to be forgotten.
Yeah, and one thing, there was a key word that you used, trust. Ronaldo trusts him. Everyone that you talk to in terms of senior individuals at clubs. So Dan, you spoke about the senior CEO at Wolves. You've spoken about Cristiano there, Dan. Sorry, Richie. So the other thing is Arne Slot. The other thing is Jurgen Klopp. The other thing is Jordan Henderson and all his captains.
Do you know which one got me? Andy Robbo's.
Andy
Robbo's got
Robbo's
me. Yeah.
one of the leaders, one of the senior men at Liverpool Football Club right now, and what they've done is called Jota out. Why? Because they trust him. They trusted him. With all the furore that we have with strikers and whatnot, and how we play, it all came down to the trust that Arne Slot had for this season, the season that just gone, and winning the league. Who's the man that kind of filled the hole? Probably not playing at the best simply because he had that injury and people just falling on top of him.
I mean, listen,
For what we
his
want.
stats itself speak for itself. In total for Liverpool, Wolves, Paco de Ferreira, and Porto, he played 398 games. He scored 136 goals, 66 assists. So you're adding that 136 plus 66 is 202. So he's got 202 goal or assists in 398 appearances. That's more than one in two, and that is the Jota the Slotter. I tell you what, I would also like to point out, in all of those games he had 51 yellow cards. So he had a bit of niggle about him as well, and that's what I love. I want a forward who's going to smash someone, or I want a forward who's going to get a bit of niggle, or pull someone's shirt, or do something. 51 yellow cards in like nearly 400 appearances. That's pretty impressive for a forward.
It probably should have been 49 because he should never have got sent off against Tottenham. It's just one of those things, and it just kind of highlights the tenacity that he had over playing for all those teams. Is he gets stuck in? He wouldn't take anything from anyone, regardless of whoever you are, how big you are. I'm going to run through you. And I think Arsenal kind of saw that so many times. He'll run
And
through you.
Spurs. Yeah.
And Spurs, yeah, exactly. I remember loads of goals. Chelsea, I remember him just kind of bulldozing his way through and scoring a goal. Yeah, it's just an absolute magnificent player, and I will miss him so much. Another thing, probably last thing for me, if we're going to be finishing off soon, is it's a hard find to find players that are a combination of moments, but also dependability. So we've seen Diogo be really dependable and score game after game after game, and really kind of put teams to the sword, and we can really rely on him. And then there's other moments where he may not be at his very peak, but he finds those moments and scores crucial goals. And I've covered off a number of them tonight in this episode, but it's really rare to find a player like that, and finding another one, it's going to be really hard. We've tried and tried and tried, and it seems to fail. We will look years back upon this period, over the last 5 years, and we will struggle to find another player that will capture the love that we've probably demonstrated over the last 24, 36 hours.
I always think it's better to smile when you remember people than to be sad. And the past 48 hours, I've been very sad. And what I will do very now, and it might be a little bit selfish, but this is how much I think football and sport means to people is, as you know, I'm a teacher. And when the news broke yesterday, I was absolutely devastated. I literally stood in the hallways, like in shock, like for about 2 minutes. I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I just need to like get my legs moving. And, it's only that someone said, "Oh, you okay?" I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Anyway, throughout the day, obviously when the news spread, a lot of my students, I work in a secondary school, a lot of my students was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yep, fine, yep, fine." Anyway, carried on. And it wasn't until period 5, which is our last period of the day. So we have periods of lessons, whatever. And 5 lads stayed behind and I, taught a lesson, whatever. And they said, "I just wanted to stay behind to make sure that you're okay." And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And they went, "Well, we heard about Diogo Jota and we know you're a big Liverpool fan and we just wanted to make sure you was okay." And I said, "Do you know what? I wasn't okay, but I am now because they asked." And for me, like, it's not just a selfish thing, for me, that's what made me feel was like my heart grew a little bit. I think that's what everyone did yesterday, and I would hope that everyone does that throughout the next few weeks. And I hope that when we first play whoever it is at Anfield, someone just turns around and says, "Are you okay?" And that person will tell you, "No, I'm not okay, actually. You know what? I'm devastated." Or, "I'm okay because you asked." Or, I'm okay because I know that you feel that way. And the same thing happened is my year 11 prom last night. And you know, I stood on my own because like I was in charge of, you know, just looking at the prom, and you know, I was basically standing at the back and just like, nobody mess this up, you know, like proper like Gurn face, like, no, don't do anything wrong because otherwise you'll ruin it for everyone else. And what was so lovely, boys and girls, was like, did you hear about Diogo? And I was like, yep. And they said, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't. But it was nice that this is the footballing world and it's the footballing community, and that to me almost emphasizes and personifies what Diogo was, because people care about him. If people care about him, they cared about how I felt. They cared about how I felt because I cared about him. And that's the way that I look at it. And I would have done that, and I'm sure you two would have, and all of our listeners would have done that. Whether it would have been a Roy Keane, or whether it had been a Dennis Bergkamp, or whether it had been a Didier Drogba, or any legend of any football club, that's what I would like for football to be. Are you okay? I don't want the tribalism to be in there when tragedies like this happen, and I'm sure none of us want this. And to me, that was a big deal. And like I said, you know, earlier, like you don't realize how emotionally connected you are to these players until something like this happens, and you appreciate who they are. But also, I think you appreciate what the footballing world is. And for me, I'll give the last words over to Charlie and Dan. For me, that is what sport is, and that's what life is. Like, there is no vision that ever dies just because somebody dies. There is no memory that dies just because somebody dies. Like, visions and memories, they last forever. And as long as Diogo lives in our hearts, he'll forever be immortalised at Liverpool Football Club. And for me, that's all I have to say. You know, he's the lad from Portugal, and he's better than Figo, don't you know?
Yeah,
That is Diogo for me. I'll always remember him, and I'll always smile when I remember him. And that's the memory that I always want. I would always smile when somebody says, "Do you remember Diogo Jota?"
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just magnificent. You've set me off. And
Sorry.
no, 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 it's okay. I guess the last thing, I know it might be a little bit silly, but there's a beat. There was a line from a TV show, a really famous TV show, talking about grief and what is grief if not love persevering. And I think that's just a magnificent piece of literature, regardless of what type of TV show it was. And it's really kind of stuck with me because everyone goes through grief at some point in their life, and I'm really surprised at how much I've felt over the last 24, 48 hours. And again, it's just one of those things, brothers in arms. I keep repeating it because I feel it's really, really strong emotion to have. We guys, we've never physically met, but we have such a bond between us because we've spoken, and we share ideologies, we share interests, and what one of the central point is, and what we're seeing here today is Liverpool Football Club, the people, the players that we have, and that's the kind of the thing that we're seeing is everyone coming around in the community. And I 100% agree with you, Richie, because I cannot stand the nasty side of rivalry, the nasty side of football and sporting competition, etc. Because for whatever reason, I just would love a nice world, and I think Jota has shown that with everyone, and the wonderful comments that we've seen of people watching this and hearing this and etc. years to come, if this is still available, and if it's possibility for people connected to Diogo to reach out and see this, and if they can hear the conversation that we've us three have had and the comments below and whatnot, and hopefully that persevering love that they have for Diogo kind of is shining through in what we're saying, and that's what I hope for in years to come. Diogo is still spoken about, and I'm sure he will be, because we love him and we always will.
Well, listen, I think you guys have, there's nothing else to say. I do want to, as I said, I want to finish how we started, and that's a celebration of Diogo Jota, a man who delivered number 20. He wears a number 20, and he'll be forever immortalised as the number 20. It has come out that Liverpool will retire that shirt, and I think it's very, very fitting. Liverpool, I know, they're such a special club. They always do something that's right, and I know that they'll see that Diogo's family will always be right. And that for me is worth more than any single transfer, any single point in the history of the Liverpool Football Club, to know that as a socialist club, you know, they do right by Diogo's family, and I'm really proud to, and I've always said this. I literally said to my daughter in the car earlier, you are so special to support a club like Liverpool because they're such a special club. And I'm so proud to support this club, and I'm so blessed to support this club. But you know, the blessings and the pride should go out to Diogo's family, to his parents, and to his wife, and Andre Silva's family, and all of his connected family as well. Because there wasn't just one tragedy. Our thoughts go out to Andre Silva as well. I know it's a Diogo Jota tribute show, but Andre Silva at 26 years old, that's an absolute, you know, tragedy as well. So thoughts go out to everybody. But listen, all of you, you'll always be connected to Liverpool Football Club. Every single one of Diogo Jota's family will mean more to us than any single player who walks through the doors at Anfield. We want to let you know that you'll never walk alone. It's not just a slogan, it's the absolute truth. We love you all so, so very much. We will be now and forever up the Reds, and we'll forever sing Diogo Jota's song that is so iconic. We'll always remember number 20, and it will always be immortalised. Rest in peace, Diogo, and rest in peace, Andre.